A lot of biopics are period pics, and especially if it's the major studios, if it is a period piece, and, you know, who knew the 90s are a period now? They're less likely to be interested. Also because in the past they have not made money. Frequently, you'll see biopics about Elizabeth Taylor, James Dean, movie stars and folk figures that the target audience doesn't relate to. How many people in this room have ever seen Rebel Without a Cause? Okay, yeah, but you guys are smarter than the average. You're film class. But, you know, they just historically have not made money because they are perceived, this may not be the real audience, but they're perceived as being something for grandma and grandpa. And whatever the reality is, the perception is that the people with disposable income who are going to the theater are high school and college age kids.
I personally love biopics, but I think you have your anomalies. King's Speech, for instance, right? That movie made a lot of money. The reason why, it's not, yes, it's about a true story, but it's inspirational on so many different levels. And you're reaching out to people, not just this very specific myopic person's life and how they were an alcoholic and now aren't, or whatever. But you're reaching out to, and you're speaking on, you know, how to get through something and overcome something. And that is where biopics are actually become something else. So, you know, we read so many of these things about, you know, Dr. Seuss, and they're very interesting reads, and they're so exciting, but the audience for those are just not quite there. Because there's just, they're missing that component that makes it special for a bigger audience.
And that's an international thing too, because not everybody in the world read Dr. Seuss. And so if they're looking at it and going, well, everybody knows, well, everybody doesn't know. But you take something like The King's Speech, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was made by a foreign company and then brought to the US. And foreign companies, I've worked with a lot of them, and they're much more open to that. The Queen, the special relationship. I mean, if you've got a monarchy thing, there's probably a London company that wants to talk to you, but nobody here in the US does. And also they're more expensive. You know, they've got to cast them, you know, they can get all the Brits they want, but they've got to go to overseas, they've got to film overseas, they've got to find automobiles that were back then, and all of that costs money, whereas you can make a genre picture like Taken 12.
And a lot of them are characterizations of these people, and it's not necessarily, you feel like they're just characters you cannot relate with, or you don't want to really spend 2 hours with, because they're just kind of out there. And I think the mistake a lot of times with biopics is like trying to make them more interesting by, you know, throwing in, oh, and they were in this hot air balloon accident. It's like, well, okay, what are you telling me about this person? And it is cast dependent. And even if you get a big actress to play, you know, Princess Diana, you know, you have to be able to portray that in a way that people find respectful and not, you know, mocking or something like that.
Also, people's lives are not 3-act narratives. And it's really hard to take a real life and turn it into a 3-act film. People's lives are messy, they don't resolve their problems, they just sort of lie there like dead fish, and it just, a lot of lives do not lend themselves to biopics. Also, if there's a biopic of an artist, I've read lots and lots of biopic scripts about jazz musicians or thespians, and the art isn't in there. You can get, this happened to this person, they had this horrible trauma, this happened, they strove, yeah. But where's the art? Where did that come from? And that so rarely comes through. I don't know what inspired this jazz musician to create this wailing sax music that killed people. And And that's part of the reason, but a lot of it is because lives are messy and just, they're just all over the place and are, you know, lousy films.